Alright, at this point, uh, we've got our database created. We don't have any tables inside it. I was going to show you, if you go back over to, because it should be in a different tab depending on which browser you're using. Anyways, if you go back over to Manage Databases, you'll see this site here, and this is your actual website. So whatever name you came up for with your website, like mine is Grandpa's IT Training, it's going to add .00webhostapp.com. So, and then if you click on that, right now we don't have anything in it. So it's just going to bring you up to the files that are in it right now, which I've already got a constants, connect, and register PHP, which we're going to get rid of because I'm going to recreate them with you. So if I go into, if I close that, come back over here to Manage Database. If you're not already there, click PHP My Admin. I already have it open in another tab, so we're going to go over here. So now we're going to create a table, basically because there's nothing else in there. So the table, we're going to call it users. You can call it whatever you want, but you do have to remember the name of it because you're going to have to come back and call on it later. Now we're going to have, let's see, you're going to have an ID column, which is an auto incrementing number that your first customer added. It's going to be number 1, second customer number 2, number 3, 4 on down the line. So that's one column that you're going to have. You're going to have your username, you're going to have your password, and your email. So there's 4 columns, but we're going to go farther in this because we're going to check to make sure that their email is an actual email address by sending them an email that they have to click on a link to verify their email. So we're going to need basically a column that says true or false. Either they have verified or they haven't. And then we're going to have another column to generate a random number and just store that random number long enough for them, to basically it sends them a link to that number, and if the number doesn't match up, so they can't just like generate their own link. So it's got to match up with whatever number, and it's only going to be good for so long. So that's 6 columns. So we're going to go ahead and do 6 columns. We can always add more if we need to, but that's going to be the start of this database. So once you have the columns in there, you go ahead and click on Go. Comes up, okay, now we got to figure out, we want, okay, user ID. So, I mean, there's a couple ways you can name them whatever you want, but like I say, you want them to be pretty much whatever your column is. So we'll call the first one ID. And it's an integer because it's just counting 1, 2, 3, 4. Over here, if you scroll across, depending on what version you're using, but you should have the same thing that I got right here. You're going to click this AI, Auto Increment. And then you get a little pop-up, just click Go. You don't have to change anything in there. And then come back. The next thing that we're going to collect is the name. We're going to do varchar, which is basically a string, and we're going to set the length, which we're going to have to go back and check our lengths because I don't remember exactly what they are right off the top of my head. We're going to collect the email. That's going to be a string as well, or a varchar. And we're going to collect the password. Now with the password, we're going to encrypt it. It's going to be a varchar. And even though I set I do remember I set it to 15 when we were in Android Studio. Well, once we encrypt it, it's going to be 32. So you're going to have to set that to 32. Alright, so if we go back over here because we want to check, So where did we do that at? It was in our layout and our register, and we said okay. So we set our name to 35 and email to 50, max length. So that's what we can set over here. So let's go back over to our, so this was 35 and this was 50. And it doesn't make any sense to make it bigger or whatever, because you're not, if you set it back in your app, that's all it's going to let you put in there anyways. Alright, so then we got a confirmed. So it's either going to be confirmed or not. This is a Boolean, which Boolean is true false. And then we've got code, something that we're going to generate, and it's going to be a random number. So you can just leave that as int. Now we could have set this as int, but I mean all we're storing is either a 0 or a 1. If it's a 1, they're confirmed. If it's a 0, they're not. Same thing, false is 0, true is 1. So, and like I say, you could have left it as an int, but an int is bigger than a Boolean, so we're using Boolean just to save space in our database. One other thing I wanted to say is this website is free up to 1 gig. So you got 1 gig to use, and believe me, that's a lot of data. Alright, so once you have all that, if you scroll over to and down, you'll see a little save button here. You're going to go ahead and click save. Okay, now you have your database. You see it pop up there. So if you click on it, right now there are no entries in here. So one of the things that you could do, you could go up here to SQL if you wanted to enter something, and as you can see, just like the SQL back in W3 schools, you have select all from users, and here they have where one, but you could put where email equals whatever. You've got other things that we're going to use, like we're going to use insert eventually, because we're going to actually take the data and insert it into the database. Update, like if because when we get later on down the road, people might want to update their email, or they might want to update their password or whatever, and of course you'd use an update. Delete, if they want to delete their account, we'll make sure that they can do that. So like I say, there's a bunch of things that you can do with databases, and you can like store multiple databases and multiple like customers, employees, products, and you can link them all together, like what employee sold to what customer and what product that customer buying, and there's so many things that you can do with SQL databases. But like I say, for the purpose of this lesson, we're just going to simply do single table, grab a few things from a user, check it, and let them either log in or not. So anyways, that's it for this video. In the next video, we'll go on into connecting our database and making sure that it is connected.